So, welcome back again to another scene for the Sept of the Red Branch, where, as we set the scene for this particular day, we actually begin early in the morning, kind of backtracking, a flashback, if you will, to a scene in Brook's Rest, pressing in on a familiar doorstep. The members of McNamara are very few these days, and they do stay offset. They do stay in Brook's Rest. And this will not be the first time that Maeve has come to their door with a very nice little envelope, sealed with wax in hand. Yep, coiffed well, dressed well, and politely knocked, waited for Kian to be called out to the door, and handed him off the envelope with a smile, saying, "We look forward to seeing you." And with little more than that, though she does earnestly look happy, looks excited, she does bob politely to the family, thank them for entertaining her, and will quickly be off back to Sept, leaving Kian probably at least a little bemused and holding a very nice little stationery envelope.
Which he will open in his office, closing the door behind him.
So, what lays inside is a very, admittedly, Maeve has worked very hard on her penmanship, and it shows in very nice, fluid, formal script. It is an invitation to meet her back out in Dagdas Forest, middle of the night when the moon is highest, to come in the Umbra, and even gives directions, landmark by landmark, on how to get to a very particular little clearing. And I mean, it's even closed formally, and I do look forward to your attendance. And signed with her full name, Maeve McFew. Nice little swirlies and everything. She got a hold of a calligraphy pen somewhere.
This necessitates a change of clothes, as Kian will start making preparations. Obviously, this is the morning, but laying out what will be needed now rather than later. Before I believe he shall return to his duties, whether that be the research he is conducting or any patrols that might interrupt it for the remainder of the day. Very intrigued, but also comforted perhaps by her good mood, that it seems to be a happy invitation.
No, I mean, ironically, at least in Maeve's case, you'll catch glances of her here and there about the Sept. She still has her own keeper duties to see to. She still does periodically take shifts on the guard patrols, because someone does have to go along the Umbra, make sure everyone's happy on that side, make sure nothing's been seen, and reconnect with the rest of the guard group. So you'll still see glimpses of her here and there, but much as is the norm for Maeve, she looks cheery, chipper, very upbeat.
Hmm.
But sooner or later, after however many trips to the fire hall for his meals, after patrols, after studies, after everything else, sooner or later, the sun's going to go down.
Then Kian will make his way off from Brook's Rest into the Sept, into Dagda's Mist Forest. Steady steps, not taking time to enjoy the scenery.
To Maeve's credit, it's not quite the same as directions by distance or numbers, but no, it's, take this particular path in, and then you'll see this, or you'll see one of the ribbons that's used to mark places that have already been checked by the cubs on their little mock patrols. And turn left, turn right, go until you see this.
When he does so, following the instructions to a T, snapping dead leaves and twigs underfoot as he makes his way further deeper into the forest. Keeping a ear out for any noise.
Well, I imagine, among other things, you've got this very thick canopy. Dagda's forest is old. The trees
Even more
are,
so in the Umbra.
oh yes, the trees are massive. The branches are many. The netting of leaves above, it's a good lush canopy. But another fine thing about the Umbra, not only is the temperature just ideal, but even more so than it might be walking normally. There's places where there's a lattice of leaves, where there's beams of moonlight. This is, after all, when the moon is at its highest. When Luna is looking over the forest. And it'll be hard to tell as he grows closer whether it's simply the fact that there is an open patch. It almost seems like it is spotlit, this clearing, with the moonlight grazing over it after walking so long through the dark, around branches, ducking under branches, around trunks, stepping over ancient roots that have all woven together. So there is the glow of the clearing, almost guiding one in. And while... Go ahead. I said, go right ahead.
Oh, no, sorry, I was just clearing my throat.
Oh. Well, you've got this glow of a clearing. And admittedly, while not utterly in the buff, Maeve is there, out in the clearing, face turned up to the sky, glowing with moonlight, practically made of the stuff. Her hair still has a coppery tinge to it, but how? An attachment spirit-wise to the moon, it really is an ideal setting for her. And she's just awash in it, maybe drifting a bit, just enjoying it, probably waiting for him to show.
It is quite a spectacle to behold. I mean, he's seen her in the Umbra before, but they haven't exactly been in the most pleasant of conditions. This is Luna's vigil in the light of Luna.
And Kian, as you step into the clearing, you can see Maeve from that small distance, but there's also another light that comes from it. More of an orange tinge to it. As you finally step into the clearing, the two of them stand next to each other, while Maeve has this almost white glow to her. Seamus, the light around him almost absorbs that little bit. His eyes look that little bit more dark and more defined. The skin is slightly paler than it normally would be. The hair slightly darker as well. His features just exaggerated that little bit. He stands there fully naked. He does have paintings on his chest and across his arms, all down his legs and such, but he has a leather belt around his waist. In it, you can see a small knife notched in it. He wears a headdress made of bramble, another small bits of forestry woven into it, as well as most notably two large black antlers, one on each side. They stick out front ways rather than sideways. And he stands there, almost like he was expecting you to come, behind in the light of this fire and the light of the moon. A small smile growing across his face makes it look slightly more sinister than it normally does in the Umbra.
For the sake of counterpoint, where he has brambles and thicker forestry, where he has darker, more, marks that really stand out in the paint. Maeve probably has she's tucked some flowers in her hair. They're plentiful enough in the summer. Just wildflowers, just glowing in the light. And while she doesn't have a belt, what's perhaps even remotely retaining her modesty is more like a shawl. It's something, it's light. I mean, at the risk of using a cliche, it's very much like wearing nothing at all. It does twist around her a bit, but for the most part, it's just kind of left to drift. It adds to the effect. And considering the way that she seems kind of lifted up by all the moonlight, it really does add something. As she does turn around, hearing, the crackle of your feet. And if anything, her smile is that much more luminous. It's an interesting counterpoint. The brightness, the darkness, and then that oddly just seems so orange glow of the bonfire, lighting on both of them. Admittedly, more on one than the other.
And I would love to elucidate on a beautiful picture of Kian in the Umbra. Sadly, he has the McNamara stare. And that is a flaw that I want Turner to put in the game 2 points. Because it is just that cold, silent, yet somehow polite stare. Dressed in very overdressed, apparently for the occasion. In a hardy black overcoat. Popped collar, of course. But he reaches a hand into his pockets, retrieving the not resealed but repackaged letter that Mabe gave him. And sort of holding it up as a ticket. Thank you for your invitation, Raya. I admit to be most intrigued. Giving a look over to Seamus. Meeting that perhaps sinister stare, with that cold, silent.
The grin continues, as you fully step out, especially when you show the invitation. He just smiles, looks at Maeve. Doesn't say anything out loud, but the picture of his face says everything to Maeve. But either way, he takes a step round the fire. Oh no, Kian. I bet you're half wondering why we've called you out here at this time of night.
I'd be very foolish if I didn't wonder.
Would you be foolish if you wanted too much? But either way, he just takes the thing, the note that you're holding out to him, just snips it out your hand.
Yeah, he lets you take it.
I I've been watching you again for a while. I've been watching your actions, the way you present yourself, and the way that you act around Sapt.
I see.
And I'm going to be frank. I like what I see, Gian. You're a man of composure. You're a man of heart. And above all, there's a fire that burns within your chest that I know rivals ours. Would I be wrong there, Gian?
No. But I thank you for the kind words.
He just smiles. So I'm going to be very, very easily. I want to make you an offer, Gian. I'd like you to join our pack.
There's an actual, however subtle, expression of surprise.
To say that Maeve is glowing as it's being said is probably a little redundant at the moment, but all the same, she's right there at hand. She'll actually have moved up so that should Seamus be done holding the letter or want a place to tuck it, she's right there to take it. But, she's hovering just back behind the right shoulder.
I am honored by the offer. He gives a second's glance down towards the ground. Gears slowly spinning, but it's not too long, merely a moment or two. I would be glad to accept.
Well then, let's get this underway then, shall we?
He gives a curt nod.
As he does, he just pulls his knife out from his belt, just holds it out towards Maeve.
And Maeve, it's a subtle thing, her tucking down to where she has things prepared, ready to go. Snacks up a small, we'll say a wooden bowl. And, just in a one smooth motion, the knife is offered, and it's almost like the motion is continuous as she slides it from his fingers as soon as it's offered. And she'll come around him. If you'd give me your hand.
Yeah, Cian just very gently raises up his hand. There is, actually, Seamus, Tom,
Yes.
could you give me a perception empathy roll?
I'll give you perception empathy. Because damn right, if
I'm
you give me
giving this one. I'm giving this one free to Maeve because she would definitely be able to catch it. Where are we there?
there's an 8 in there.
Why can't I find it? There we go. There's a slight smile on Cian's face, almost obscured by the shadows of the forest.
And as that comes out is spotted, just barely. Maeve guides the hand over the bowl, practically resting it atop it, and with the blade, in a perhaps cliche, but nonetheless meaningful gesture, will make a point of slicing the palm, and with it cupped over the bowl as it is. Sure enough, blood will begin to dribble down. It's not enough to cause a real explosive amount, but it's certainly enough to make it bleed. The hand is full of so many small veins.
Mm. Yes, and Kane, just the teensiest automatic wince on his eyes when this blade cuts, but he doesn't shake or pull his hand, and actually guides his palm over the cup to let it run down.
Is he paying attention to the contents of the bowl at all, or is he locking
When
eyes
he, yeah,
with
when he,
either one of them?
he would definitely be having locked eyes with May, but when he goes to turn his hand over to let the blood flow freely down, he'd avert his gaze to look in the contents just to make sure, if nothing else, that it's landing.
There does seem to be, there's definitely something in the bowl. In the dark of the night, it's hard to tell, but if anything, it looks not quite like mud, more like a bit of dirt and loam.
Mm.
Even
Does
different
it smell
types
of anything
evidence.
particular?
Oh, I mean, you can. I'll let you make an alertness check, see how much you pick up off it, especially with the blood wetting
Oh.
it. There's the coppery tang, but there's other things to pick up there.
What's my 6 dice? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I mean,
Got a good nose.
yeah, apparently so. It's maybe you spot the lighter flecks in it. Some of it is a bit broken up with sand. A little closer, probably, to the coast. Some of it is just the good, dark, thick earth like you've been used to seeing on the Sept. Some of it, though, is probably where the scent comes in. It's earth that's been pulled up from some part of the bog, perhaps. It's definitely got a distinctive smell to it. Been pulled up, been partially dried, but especially now that it's being reactivated with the dampness of the blood, the smell probably gets released a bit. It's an
Very
interesting
peaty.
conversation. Yeah. Or, wow, conversation. Interesting combination. Words. And
Very
as you
difficult.
give the offering of blood, and she gets enough to begin dampening the collection of earth inside. She'll glance next to Seamus, almost the looking for permission, maybe giving him the chance to give direction. After all,
You look to Seamus, and his expression doesn't change much. He is fully locked onto Kian, but it's just the knowing hand wave.
so following the bleeding of Kian, she will begin to cut her own hand. Again, making sure that the better part of it sluices into the bowl. Not, again, any dramatic amount, but certainly enough to begin soaking into that collection of earth. And probably even giving it a quick circle with her thumb to make sure it begins to mix. She'll hold both out. Again, essentially asking for Seamus's hand without saying a word. Very similar to how she initially approached Kian after asking for his hand.
So Seamus will in fact reach out for the blade, taking it with one hand, and whereas the two have traced the blade across their hand, Seamus takes the handle, with his right hand, and with his left hand he grips the blade, and you can see there's force behind it as he just drags the blade through his gripped palm. And he just holds it, a clenched fist over the top of the bowl as it just trickles out the bottom between his fingers.
And as, again, blood seeps into the bowl, Maeve is not at all shy about even using her fingers to stir up the combination of earth, of blood. Each bit taken from each member, each piece of earth from a place that she thinks meaningful to a member. And as either is given the chance to respond to their wounds, she will finally withdraw a step, content in the mix, and probably draw back to kneel herself down. Dagda's place is Dagda's forest is a place that is very much awake, very much aware. And so she'll kneel down, speaking softly to the earth as she takes a knee, rests the bowl in the grass, and begins drawing and binding. Pick up a slight stirring of the earth spirits there.
As Maeve is doing that, just to the side of them, Seamus will, again, still trained on Cian. Now, Cian, as I'm sure you're aware, we follow Boar, as I taught him.
Cian nods. So a slow,
Now, many would say quite unlikely that we would follow Boar. None of us show characteristics as such, but I let you in on a little secret. One that you will have to uphold. Boar is our patron totem. For most number of reasons. The main being the Baladas are chaotic and such. Boar is stubborn. Boar is a rock within this forest. And we will be the immovable object against the worm. Boar is feared by hunters. And those out there that dwell between those hills threaten our very property. He takes a good step towards Cian, getting right into his face.
And Cian stiffens, but it's not in a aggressive stance. It's in a sign of respect that he deserves his full attention. Standing at attention almost more than ridging up.
They see themselves as hunters. Old remnants of hunters quaking in the night, planning and plotting. Now, while our time has not come yet, they will fear us, as all hunters fear Boar.
You have my oath, Seamus O'Callaghan, that as long as I'm your pack member, I shall not relent.
We will strike fear in their dead hearts. We will kill. We will rip and tear our way through everything they throw at us. Because we are the rock. While others may die, we will not be graced with such a death until our job is done.
May it be done.
And he just he puts the hands on the shoulders, not aggressively, but kind of like I'd say on the shoulder, like around his neck, like just the almost like an embracing Kian sort of thing. Because he just smiles as he does, pats him on the chest after that second of holding him. Now that's the man. That's the man I wanted to see. Together. All of us. MacFionn, McNamara, Houlihan, and O'Callaghan. All of us. We're going to bring a tide, Kian. I know you're going to be a part of that. So he does finally take the step back where, almost in perfect timing, that Maeve has finished with what she needs to be doing.
It has been perhaps longer than some would take in binding, in coaxing, in speaking softly to the spirits of earth that stir up around her. But as the exchange is done, so too is she. And she rises up, her fingers coated in this mixture of earth, of blood, and a little bit of blessing. And so she goes in tandem, in the order that seems fit. First coming to Seamus and adding to the paint he's already wearing. Whorls that strike up from the very corner, the back corner of the jaw, up the cheek, curling under the eye, and finally around and under, along, just short of the nose. Just simple, but very much easily determined to be reminiscent of a tusk. So, with a finger on each hand, she draws this shape. It's simple. It's quick. She even reaches up to do it again on herself with the next set of fingers, and finally moves over, reaching out to Kian, obviously intent on doing the same. She doesn't seem to have any real regard for the state of nudity that either of them are in, for the fact that Kian is normally a very stiff man, but she reaches out almost like she expects his head to extend that little bit, expects him to meet her part way.
Which he does.
And so with a third set of fingers, she does the same, giving him the same simple designation. Boar is not necessarily a creature of complexity. It's use enough of the paint to mark him. As she does reach out to the totem, as she does call out in a voice that Kian won't hear until after she is finished making those strokes of the fingers. As she reaches out to Boar and asks him to bless him, as he's blessed the rest. And I do believe Kian has a point of totem, doesn't he?
He has a what?
A point of totem? Would be in your backgrounds.
Nope.
No. Surprise.
Oh wait, no. Did I take one? No, I don't think so. No.
I could have sworn Tonra told me you did.
Did I fuck something up? I might have fucked something up. Let me see.
It's fine, just keep rolling.
Hey, We'll keep rolling. I'm going to do it anyways. And if you don't have it, you get to buy it now.
Buying it.
But as you know, the gesture is finished. It's maybe at first kind of a soft ringing in the ear, an odd tone. It's not as though he is unfamiliar with the effects of a mind speech. But this is so much clearer. There's no confusion. There's no misunderstanding who's speaking or a sense of it being invasive. Rather, it's like the mind almost opening, as before voices there come feelings, there comes a sense of identity. It's not just that he's hearing Maeve's thoughts or Seamus's, it's that he is suddenly exposed to who they are. Maeve isn't shrouding her mind, her thoughts, her feelings. And so, at least from her end, as this kind of fades in like an extra sense, there is a sense of just keen joy. But it's also it's not just words, it's not just feelings, it's she's there. Everything that makes her Maeve is there. If he was going to tap in too hard, too fast, he'd feel the bare feet under her, or the bare earth under her feet. He'd feel that dampness on her fingers, the scents and sights as she's seeing them. It's a little distorted at first, perhaps, if he has not been in a pack before, but slowly, just like opening your eyes for the first time, it happens. Among other things, there's probably also the sense of a thick snorting out past the edges of the clearing, a rustle in the brush. Because Bor is ever present, and Bor is aware, and Bor is the only reason that he is being folded in.
And there's that ever subtle smile back. And Kieran will softly move his gaze from Maeve over to Seamus. Almost testing as if the link has been opened.
And you look to Seamus, and it's stranger compared to me. While he is there, you can not only can see him, you can feel him, but you can feel that itching. It's with Maeve, where it's that almost calmness to him. There's an itch. There's a tick. There's something clawing in the back of his mind. There's something you can feel that's just. It's one wall for him, but it's two for you. But you know it's there, scratching at the cage that's hiding it behind. But it's there. And he just smiles as you can see that you're looking at him. But again, you can feel his calm, the composure. Through all the firecracker and everything that you've seen of Seamus, this is what you don't really see. This is what he hides. This is everything. The calm, one flat line, composed, calculating,
Disciplined.
very disciplined.
An aspect Kieran has utmost respect for. And there's a feeling this, seeing this. He nods towards Seamus, but it's almost a bow. If you know.
As he nods, the half kind of incline of the chest a little bit. Seamus puts a hand on his shoulder. Doesn't speak, but he still says, "But now again, you must add your fuel to our fire." As he takes a step to the side, and there you see behind him, this fire still crackling away as it is. It's not small, but it's not sizable, but it's symbolic. The fire spirit sat within, happily just burning away at all the bits of wood collected. And there you can see clearly laid out, surrounded by a number of stones, a small packaged log of sorts, wrapped in dried leaves, with a marking of wax on it.
Kian takes a step forward, closer to the fire, feeling that crackle. Instant explosions of heat that dissipate. Was it the... So I think I must have missed you there. Was that the letter?
No.
Oh.
It's a small log, wrapped in dried
Oh.
leaves, placed on a bed of stone, almost waiting for you to pick it up.
Oh, sorry.
Like he said, it's time for you to add your fuel to our fire.
He grabs the log, but the hard grip. He puts it up to his face, holding with both hands now. And quietly, without speaking, he prays for only a few short moments. Opening his eyes. He sheds the log onto the pyre and watches intently, waiting for the flames to flicker and devour it. And it's only once that the log has started to be consumed and blacken on the edges when it's truly caught fire that he will actually look upwards towards the moon, towards Luna. And in the almost quiet hustle of wind, leaves, and nature breathing around them, he gives off a low howl, growing, but steadfast, and it is long. Unyielding.
And as a matter of course, as he lifts his voice, there's moments there where at first it's his voice alone. And she gives it a moment to grow in strength, to be sure, to be steadier before Maeve too lifts her voice, joins his, turns her face to the sky, up to Luna. Just blissful.
And almost as the strings join the winds, Seamus does. As he follows up when Maeve reaches her crescendo, he too begins as well, firing his voice upwards towards Luna. That heart of passion fueling everything that he's got.